I'm Marcus.
I'm Ryan.
And together
we are the Northwest Sports Fanatics.
Now, sorry about that. We took a week off. You know, it bees like that sometimes. But we right back at you with our weekly NBA power rankings. Ballin'.
So we're going to start it up right now with our top 5. Starting up with number 5.
Cinco.
We're going to have to go with the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
The OGs, they're 44-16. Pretty much what we thought maybe they would be at this point. Pretty solid. They're 5-1 in their last 6, so they're getting it done. They have victories over the Blazers, Pistons, Bobcats, Mavericks, and the Cavs. So a couple good teams, couple bad teams in that mix. They did lose to Phoenix by 21, a little while back. So that's something they need to correct. A crazy stat is that they have 24 different starting lineups.
Wow.
Out of all the teams, and all the rosters and the injuries. It's pretty amazing that they're still 44-16 with that much shuffling in the lineup. But they play the Heat tomorrow, right? Showcase game, huge game. We'll have to see how that goes. I do want to shout out Patty Mills. He's been playing good for them. Backup point guard, played in Portland a few years back. 10 points per game. Pretty solid there.
This year?
Off the bench, 10 points. He's had a few games of 20, in the past probably about 2 or 3 weeks. Like we were talking about before, you got Splitter back. You got Kawhi Leonard back. So they're obviously playing pretty well. What have you seen with the Spurs lately?
With the Spurs, as you know, it's they're starting to get healthy,
right?
And also Danny Green is back as well,
right?
The one thing I want to say about the Spurs is, Pop is the best coach in the NBA.
Right, hands down.
Hands down, Pop is the best coach in the NBA, and he knows how to manage his minutes of his starters for around this time after the All-Star break.
Right.
They can just kick it into gear and they're gone.
Right.
So the OKC has to watch out. One thing about the Spurs, 17 straight winning seasons.
Unbelievable.
Wow, 17 straight winning seasons.
Yeah.
The record is held by the Utah Jazz. They had 19 in a row. But shout out to the Spurs, our number 5.
Kind of helps also, too, when you draft David Robinson, and then you go in and have that injury year of David Robinson's career, and guess what? I just got Tim Duncan. So that's pretty nice.
And then you get Parker and Ginobili.
Right. So shout out to the Spurs. You're holding strong at 5. We'll probably see you move up shortly in the next couple weeks. Next up, we have number 4.
Quattro.
Right. We're going to go. This was kind of tough. With a lot of teams jumbled up there, but we're going to have to go Houston Rockets. I think some people might think they might be a little bit higher, maybe 2 or 3, but pretty solid. They're 41-19, probably the hottest team, I would say, probably, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, 5-2 in the last 7 games, right? So you have the best record since January 1st, 2014, at 21-6. So pretty impressive. You beat the Lakers, the Suns, the Kings, the Pistons, and the Heat. You lost to the Warriors and the Clippers, but no crying about that. I mean, those teams are on the up and up.
Those good teams.
Right? You play the Magic today. I expect a W, even though Oladipo will probably play well. People you want to shout out, Chandler Parsons.
Okay.
This guy doesn't get a lot of pub, with James, obviously, Harden and Dwight Howard. But, I do like...
Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, Jeremy Lin. But I do like what he's doing. He's very aggressive, good free throw shooter. He gets it done. Terrence Jones. Right,
Portland native.
Right, hometown kid up here, 11.8 points per game. I know when we were talking before in the draft, we said it would take this guy 2 or 3 years, like a Jeremy Lamb, and look what's happening. He's starting to blossom. And shout out to Kevin McHale. This guy doesn't get a lot of respect, from Beantown in Boston, Hall of Famer with Bird and Parrish. Great job. I mean, he's really making this team a scary team to play. And I know as a Blazer fan, that's one team I definitely wouldn't want to play in the first round. And chances are we probably will play them. So we'll have to wait and see. But what have you seen with the Rockets lately?
With the Rockets, one thing I've noticed is that they are getting more comfortable. Like you said, the hottest team, 21-6 since the new year. Omer Ashik.
Right.
It was a kind of debate or if they was going to trade him and what was going on. But he's back now, and he gives him an extra big man down low for the Western Conference teams to deal with.
Right.
The last 10 games, the Rockets are 8-0.
Okay.
When they score over 100.
Wow.
And
that's defense is stepping up.
when they score under 100. So... There's an interesting stat about the red hot Rockets. Right?
And you can also tell with Harden and Dwight, even though they are all stars and you see them on commercials and TV, but these guys are really clicking and gelling, and you can tell they really fight for each other. So when it comes playoff time and they have to scrap and there might be some little scuffles involved, both of those guys will be there helping each other out. And I don't think I would want to step up to Dwight when he's angry.
That's the key thing about this team is that their chemistry, you can see it coming along together. Right now.
So shout out to Kevin McHale on the Rockets. You're sitting at number 4. We'll see you climbing, I think, very shortly as well. Sir. And then number 3, this was kind of tough.
Trace.
We're going to have to go to the Eastern Conference in this one. We're going to have to go the Indiana Pacers.
Okay.
Right? Very solid team, 46-14. 5-2 in the last 7 games. They were hitting a skid, in the last few weeks. You lost to the T-Wolves by 13, inexcusable for them. But then you have victories over the Bucks, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Jazz. Those are all pretty bad teams, so you should definitely win those games. You lost to the Warriors by 2 just recently. Klay Thompson, hitting that jumper, at the very end of the game. But what I do like with the Pacers, you brought in Evan Turner, right, former 76er. 16.7 points per game was what he was averaging. That's going to go down, but I think he'll play a good role with Luis Scola coming off the bench, and that'll give him some good minutes. And Lavoy Allen, another guy that no one really talks about.
Key piece,
right? 5.1 points per game. He'll give him some key minutes, a key breather for certain players throughout the season as we move forward to this playoff run, which we only have. It's crazy to say about 22 games left, so we're really winding down. What have you seen with the Pacers besides a little skid and the bump in the road that they've had lately?
With the Pacers, now I might not be the only one out there that didn't like this Danny Granger trade. I didn't like it, for me, honestly. Evan Turner is the similar player to Lance Stevenson.
Right.
So it kind of threw me off a little bit. You gave away your shooting for the same player. But I look at it as I had time to look at it and reevaluate the situation. Maybe Lance Stevenson is a free agent at the end of this year.
Right.
So maybe Evan Turner is kind of an insurance in case Lance leaves.
Yeah, and I think, too, is if you look at the health of Danny Granger and Evan Turner, who has been more healthy in the last few years. And Evan Turner, even though he might not be as good as a player as Danny Granger, when healthy, both. But obviously Granger's had the injury bug. Yeah, so if he can't play, he's not really helping them on the floor. So
well, he has had the injury bug, but you don't want 5 Lance Stevensons on the court at one time. Right. One is enough.
Right.
You want to keep that spacing, and Granger did that with the shooting. But Paul George, where you at, bro? You've been struggling these last couple of games, man. We're gonna need you to step that up. I highly anointed you top 5 this year, man. So I'm gonna need you to. It's coming down to the clutch,
right?
So we need you to step that up, Paul George.
And we have seen a decline in his points per game almost every month since December. It's been slowly going down, and I think that if they really want to win the East this year, he's going to have to hit around 25 a game really consistently for them to be able to take that next level. Because if he's averaging under 25, I'm not sure if the rest of the players are going to be able to have that scoring ability. Because who else can score you 25 pretty consistently, and there really isn't anybody.
With the Pacers, to me, how the Heat coasted before the All-Star break.
Right.
It's like the Pacers is coasting to the end of the season.
Right.
So you're gonna lose that home field advantage, man. You keep playing with fire.
Yeah, and that home court's key because whoever wins that home court between the Heat and the Pacers, best record towards the end of the season, that's going to be the team that's going to go to the NBA Finals. I don't think a team that can go on the road in Game 7, it's not impossible, but with those two quality of teams, I don't think the Pacers would be able to win on the road in Miami, if they don't get this done. So we'll have to see how that, plays out. But shout out to the Pacers. You've been in our top 5 pretty much all year.
Yes, sir.
You're very solid there. Number 2. Number 2. This would be the Los Angeles Clippers.
Lob City.
42-20, 5-1 in the last 6 games. You have victories over the Thunder, the Pelicans, the Rockets, the Pelicans, and the Suns. By 8 last night, obviously. So nice little victories there. You lost to the Grizzlies by 6. Seems like certain teams are kind of hitting that wall with the Grizzlies. Yeah. They're starting to get a little bit healthier, right? So, it happens. Memphis is starting to get a little bit healthier. They play the Lakers tomorrow. So, obviously, that should be a game where the Clippers should get it done. Some key pickups. They picked up Glenn Big Baby Davis. You remember him on Orlando. He's been floating around with Boston, obviously, in the past. But nice little pickup for the Clippers, a little insurance plan. Blake Griffin gets in foul trouble. You can throw him in, and he's not going to be that far off. He's going to give you a lot of hustle, and he can get you 8 to 10 points a game easy if you give him the minutes. And, another player, Danny Granger. You know, you had Danny Granger. Now the Clippers, you know, they had the whole buyout with the Sixers. He bought out his contract. Now you're on the Clippers. And I think he's happy. Mm-hmm. You know, he probably wasn't too happy after he got let go by, you know, obviously the Pacers.
The team that drafted him.
The team that drafted them. There were probably little, you know, hard feelings there. But to go to any team in the Western Conference, that's probably got to be a top 3 choice for any player. So, you know, that's going to help them, I think. But the key player to me, besides Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, CP3, the one guy that you have to give the MVP to, and the 6th man, you know it, I know it, Jay Crossover, Jamal Crawford, 19 points per game off the bench, and he is playing better than even J.R. Smith, who won the 6th man last year on the Knicks, better than him even last year. So, unbelievable play by Jamal Crawford. I think that he's a big key for them winning as many games so far. What have you seen so far with the Clippers?
Like you was talking about, Jay Crossover is hands down 6th man of the year.
Yeah,
go ahead and hand that man the award.
Right.
With the Clippers, if you really think about it, this is pretty much the same team that they had last year.
Pretty much.
So what's the difference?
Doc.
There it is, right there. Doc Rivers has brought that swag, has brought that defensive mentality. They're buying in, and for one key, just look at Blake Griffin.
Right.
Look how much his game has elevated into that upper echelon of the power forwards, and now we can mention you with the LaMarcus and the Kevin Loves, and then we can throw in Blake Griffin now. And I like the way he stepped it up. Another key thing is that they're still missing JJ Redick. Huge. If he can come back and get healthy, wow. That's a huge piece there.
Huge piece. It's almost like Miami Heat. If they could have someone like a J.J. Redick or Kyle Korver towards the end of the postseason, because obviously we talk about it quite often, but with no Mike Miller on the Heat, with the Clippers, if they could have that nice 3-point shooter, you know, he doesn't have to make a lot, but just that few minutes in the game, maybe 10, 12, 18 minutes, if they could throw him in there, I mean, that could be the difference between maybe losing in the second round or maybe making the Western Finals this year, you know, depending on how Doc coaches them.
That's right. And we talked about the players they picked up, Baby Davis and Granger.
Right.
Now let's look at the 2 players they subtracted to pick up those 2.
Okay.
Byron Mullins.
Okay.
Anton Jamison.
Yeah, you're not really losing,
great move,
right? You're not really losing too much there, you know. Even though Antoine Jamison can give you some points, you know, from time to time. But yeah, I think it was a great move.
5 years ago,
right?
Shout out to Twan, you did good for us out in DC though.
So that's number 2 with the Los Angeles Clippers, Lob City, and that leads us to number 1.
Oh no,
the king of the hill, the cream of the crop, the Miami Heat. The Heatles. They are back. They are hot. They are ready. 43-15, 5-1 in the last 6 games. You know, you beat the Bobcats, the Thunder, the Bulls, the Knicks, the Magic. You know, you've been taking care of business. You lost to the Rockets by 3, though. Right? So understandable. You know, top team there. You had LeBron with the broken nose. You know, he came out with the Batman mask. NBA says, "Can you please change this to a clear mask?" You know, I was digging the black mask.
Hey, LeBron, man, put the black mask
on.
Come on,
right?
Stern gone, man. So what's up, Silva?
Right. You got to have that black mask. I thought he played well with it, but went to the clear. And then what happens? You get 61 points, but you did play the Bobcats. Dominique Wilkins is crying a little bit. He says that he could score 40 points on the Bobcats today, right? But don't be so sure of that, because if you watch him in All-Star game, an All-Star weekend, he couldn't even make a little 5-foot jumper,
like
you know.
A little
bit of hater, you know what I mean?
Neek, man, I like you, Neek.
Yeah, me too.
LeBron,
right?
Man.
But 61 points, I mean, no matter who you're playing, it's amazing. You know, he's in the prime of his career. They play the Spurs on Thursday, right? 2 top 5 teams. It's in San Antonio, too. So I'd really like to see if the Heat can step their game up. You know, we always talk about Wade and Bosch, but I do like their reserves. They're playing well. And shout out to Spoelstra. He's probably the most underrated coach. Yes, you do have the best player, you know, in LeBron James. And, you know, I know Scotty Brooks on OKC doesn't get a whole lot of credit as well. But Spoelstra is one of those guys. He just knows how to win. And, you know, very underrated. Shout out to you. What do you think about Miami right now?
Well, you got to think with Spoelstra, the situation that he was put in. He has arguably just because of Wade, Bosch, and LeBron, that gives him the most talented roster, hands down, in the NBA. And he has to put all of that together and have them form as one.
Right.
So that's a hard job that Spoelstra has there. And to go to 3 finals in a row.
Right.
It's hard enough to make one, and these guys been to 3.
Right.
And possibly 4 coming up this year.
Right. And Wade had to check his ego too, because you got to remember when it was Wade and Shaq early in Wade's career. This is Wade's team. This wasn't LeBron's team. This was Wade's team. So he had to kind of take a step back. Bosh too, because Bosh was a man in Toronto.
Yes,
just ask Drake. He'll tell you. He was killing it. 20 points a game, 10 rebounds.
He's been to 8 All-Star games, so you don't make 8 All-Star games
right.
just for being some bum on the bench.
Exactly. So I think, Spoelstra is doing a great job, and if they could just find a way to get these other role players to click, because that's the one little weakness I see, based on last year's team. I do like that they have Birdman. He's still on the team, so I like that. You still got Ray Allen, and yes, he's old, but don't ever doubt Jesus Shuttlesworth, because
leave him open. You'll see.
Because he will make those key shots. I guarantee you, when we watch the playoffs this year, there'll be at least one game winner from him, Ray Allen, because he knows how to make those clutch shots. But Norris Cole, some of these other players, Rashard Lewis, what are they going to do during playoff run? Greg Oden, even.
Beasley never been in a huge playoff run, and that's the one I'm interested to see. Greg Oden.
Right.
He's been playing a lot more minutes lately, about 15 minutes a game.
Right.
Getting his legs under him. That's what I want to see. I want to see him bang with Roy Hibbert, because we know that's the reason why they brought him in.
Absolutely. And he hasn't got injured yet.
Nope.
So I know, at least fans, of the NBA, I know Miami's excited to have him, so we'll see if he can make it to that point. But based on what we're seeing, it looks like that if they control the minutes, 10 to 15, that they should get there.
It's awesome.
So that is the Northwest Sports Fanatic top 5 NBA rankings for this week. We are going to have another video very shortly for you.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be breaking down a lot of things, because we're really going to be really busy in the next couple weeks. We got March Madness, right?
Love it.
Right? We got, obviously, pre-draft status for the NFL.
Love it.
We got free agency. We got baseball about to start up for MLB. We're getting close. So there's going to be a lot of things we're going to touch on. Any type of questions that anybody has, shout out to anybody that wants to ask us anything. We'll talk about it.
Yes, sir.
And we love all the support that we're getting.
I appreciate that. And shout out to my man John Wall, NBA Player of the Week for the East.
Right.
Yeah, we coming.
All right, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Stay tuned.
Yes, sir.